Good evening and welcome to one of the few shows whose viewers are evidently so bored with the programme they amuse themselves by drawing it. As a result, next week's guests will be a nude woman and a bowl of fruit. In the news this week on GMTV, there are complaints that Mr. Motivator's replacement is pushing viewers too far. Road rage and a fight breaks out over the last space in the National Theatre car park. And in Geneva, there's a daring escape from a local vivisection clinic. With Ian Hislop tonight, the man who Mystic Meg said would never leave the National Lottery, Gordon Kennedy. And on Paul Merton's team, a singer-songwriter who now lives in Dublin, making him the only musician in Ireland not to have won the Eurovision Song Contest, Elvis Costello. So as Trevor MacDonald on the other side launches into some of the more worthy and colourless stories from the week's news, let's see if we can't do the same. Ian and Gordon, what crisis?
These are people showing an inspector. She can count up to 4.
It's Gillian Shepherd.
And there's somebody trying to spank John Major. And this is the new naughty dialing, 0898 Shepherd for spanking. Because Gillian Shepherd said she'd like to see people beaten with wooden sticks. Or I think that would be a good idea, wouldn't it?
She thought it might help.
And this was somewhat against John Major's policy at the moment, apparently. Although who knows, by the time the programme goes out, he may have taken another U-turn. He phoned her on her mobile phone, which is the phone we saw there, apparently.
And what were some of Gillian's proposals, do you remember?
I haven't been propositioned by Gillian Shepherd. Have you?
No, fortunately not. I'm very happy to say. No, she was suggesting bringing back Janet and John books.
That'd be good. John Major character. John sees bandwagon. John jumps on bandwagon.
Are you in the pro or anti-caning group, then?
I'm anti it.
I'm pro.
Spank me, Ian.
No, I was spanked at school. I was caned. And it turned me into a sensible and balanced human being.
And let's face it, a little thin on top, to be fair.
I don't think the link between spanking and baldness has been established.
I was never spanked.
Benny Hill. Benny Hill used to spank that bloke on the top of the head and he was bald. So there's an obvious link.
Didn't you used to be beaten by a whalebone in leather at your school?
Yeah, it's Jesuit school, Ferrolu it's called. It's a very nasty sort of thing, you know. And it's sort of like bang, and it's all that.
So they really thought it through?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's the old Jesuit.
It's quite painful with a bit of wood, but get a bit of whalebone and a bit of leather.
It's the old Jesuit thing. Give me a boy of 7 and I'll show you a damn good time.
Home Office figures suggest that on average a schoolboy is 13 years 5 months when he first commits truancy, tries alcohol and cannabis and has his first sexual experience. Still sounds like one hell of an afternoon. Paul and Elvis.
This is the Queen in Thailand. There's the ceremony of the polo mints. Jeffrey Archer showing he knows how to put on a pair of glasses.
Lord Archer suggested a change in the succession so that the women could take charge, which seems like a pretty good idea, given the options now.
Well, yes, that's
although
true.
Although the one paper did point out this week that if this had been the case, then Victoria's daughter Victoria would have been queen, and then Kaiser Wilhelm would have been king of both England and Germany. And there would have been no need for the First World War, so there you go.
Which was basically a family dispute, and then everybody else had to join in.
So it was all down to bad schooling.
Yeah. History rewritten on Have I Got News For You?
And Jeffrey Archer is putting this forward. I was reading this thing...
Some people think
writes
he's a goal.
Every Jeffrey Archer novel, he's only the last one, he goes through 17 rewrites.
Why so few?
Yes, Lord Archer contentiously says he wants the eldest child to inherit the throne regardless of sex. Good news for Camilla. Ian and Gordon.
That's Einstein. Albert. It's a load of paper.
Now, that's his cameo performance in 4 Theorems in a Wedding. And that's the reception.
Someone discovered some papers. They were auctioned off at Christie's, I think. And in the papers, there was some rather unpleasant letters to his wife saying, if we're going to stay together, you've got to do the following X things, which is cook dinner for me and not talk to me and generally keep out of my study. Well, I'm being very brainy. Sadly, he was actually having an affair with his cousin at the time, which really is a different theory of relativity.
And who was he married to?
That Maria Schweigel von Stuck.
I thought it was Judith Chalmers.
Mrs. Marriage was her name.
Mrs. Marriage? Oh, how amusing. How very
really
funny.
No, not in any way. The Einsteins' marriage went from bad to worse, although evidently they did reach a compromise. She agreed to accept that gravitational force is a property of space and relative time, and he agreed to put the towel down when he got out of the bath. And finally, Paul and Elvis.
Yes, yeah, Action Man. This is Action Man's 30th birthday. Those are 4, I think... Oh, that's Julian, that last one. I remember that. And Tony Banks wants it banned because it's a military toy. And there's Action Man when he's relaxing.
Yes, did you recognise any of the models? You said
the one was Julian.
Julian Clary.
Yes, I just...
That is Julian Clary, obviously.
That's Peter Lilly.
Why is he... He's still got the Action Man scar on the side of his face, though, hasn't he?
I don't think that's a scar.
Oh, right.
What is it?
It's I think it's a love bite.
From somebody with very straight teeth. What, a love bite from a pencil?
The scar is one of his distinguishing features. Do you know what the other one is?
A pierced belly button.
He doesn't have anything downstairs.
Yeah, he lives in a bungalow.
Wouldn't that be upstairs?
So you said well, downstairs, upstairs, the bungalow's on one level, you moron.
Not if it's got a cellar, you moron.
Bungalows don't have cellars.
They can do.
How?
If you dig one.
Well, you might as well say then you'll have an attic if you stick a great big box at the top and cut a hole in your roof.
Well, you could say that, yeah.
Well, you'd be wrong, though.
That's all we've time for on question.
And you have a string at the back and certain commands come out.
Yeah, I know, yes, I've had one. But there is...
Sorry, you said I've had one. What have you had? An Action Man?
Action Man.
With hands that grip.
It
Which might have been the reason why you fell for him in the first place. Eyes grip, eyes moving, you know.
Yes. Yes, happy memories. Yes, this is Labour MP Tony Banks, it was, who has called for a ban on Action Man. Banks claims that although Action Man has softened its image of late, it still encourages violence, particularly when the shop assistant says that'll be £39.50. Action Man, I know how much it costs, you see.
Is that per hour?
Worth every penny. We're up a blind alley now, I think.
I don't care where you met him.
Action Man has been updated and comes with the latest accessory.
I bet he does.
Which is a ninja killer assassin combat knife, unless you're a Home Office inspector, in which case it's a handy butter spreader. Which model behaviour marks the end of this opening rubber, and it would appear that both teams have everything to play for, or at least 20 minutes to play for, being as it is 4-all. Before the supposed ecstasy of our second round, the very real agony of our caption competition. And we look forward to the panel's spontaneous response in around 20 minutes' time. So before round 3, we pause for a commercial break. Each of the following advertisements was the subject of an official advertising standards inquiry. All the teams have to do is identify the product, the nature of the complaint against it, and whether or not the complaint was upheld. What could be less simple? Ian and Gordon, look at this if you can.
It was a Benetton advert. They were trying to say that everybody, whether they're white or black or yellow, has the same colour heart. And buy a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And people complained, saying, not only are you sick and cynical, but you're rather pathetic.
Do you know what the term for this kind of advertising is?
Rubbish.
Yes. In response to complaints about their Three Hearts poster, Benetton claimed that their campaign carries an anti-racist message. Apparently, the United Colours of Benetton campaign has brought people of black, white and yellow skins together in their hatred of overpriced Italian pullovers. Paul and Elvis.
Yes, this was Ryanair, the Irish company, who used it as a post. This was the recent sort of hijack at Stansted, I think. And they used it as a poster, and they said something like they would have got there quicker if they'd flown Ryanair or something like that.
New from Ryanair, hostage class.
Yeah.
I think the actual logo was, it's amazing what lengths people will go to fly cheaper than Ryanair.
But that doesn't work, because they'd actually bought tickets.
That's right.
They had bought tickets.
Not the Sudanese hijackers, though, had they?
Well, how did they get on the plane? They must have had tickets.
They bought tickets to get on the plane, and then they hijacked it and took it to Stansted, the hijacked capital of the world.
They don't go on and say, have you got a boarding card? No, but I've got a gun. All right, go through.
The product was the Irish airline Ryanair, who received complaints which were upheld after using a photo of a Sudan Airways plane shortly after it had been hijacked with that slogan. Ryanair said that they obviously wouldn't have used the images if the hijack had ended in a bloodbath, presumably because Benetton would have got there first. Ian and Gordon.
Yes, this is...
It's Persil, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Persil commercial, and the reason that they complained about it was they felt that it was racist, I think, because Persil was showing people getting rid of black as a colour, shaking off the black spots, and somebody complained that it was racist, but it wasn't upheld.
Because when people wash their whites, they tend not to want them to go black. It's not racist, it's just something about washing that...
You're absolutely right, yes. It was not upheld. What was it for?
Persil.
More precisely?
Persil.
Persil automatic.
Persil stain release system is obviously what...
how unpleasant. It's a very special washing up powder for special clients.
Where do they release the stain? Sort of into the community?
I think that's something else.
And lastly, Paul and Elvis, Viva España.
It's 1830 holidays.
How did you guess?
Wasn't it that they said, well, people who go on 1830, the holidays sort of know what to expect, so it's not offensive to them?
Yeah, they said that their
But the
justification...
posters were taken out of circulation because people who don't go on 18 to 13 holidays saw them at the side of the road and said, what's a beaver? And where's España? No, they didn't really, but they were offended. Whereas people who go on 18 to 30 holidays can't read.
Yet again, one of Ian's irrational prejudices just swims out.
In light of the success of this campaign, Saga Holidays has now developed a new series of posters to attract pensioners, and the advertising authorities are already investigating complaints about their slogan, "Get your teeth out for the lads." Which some are loving, happens so fast that it's time to vacate this second round, and the position is that Paul and Elvis are currently grounded with 7, whilst Ian and Gordon are up and away with 9.